At this stage, I feel like it's safe to say that there are two sides to Nintendo, and that they don't get along with each other. There's obviously the creative side that's given us so many incredible games in the past and has been instrumental in ensuring that the Switch has enjoyed such a solid start. To the average onlooker, this is the only part that you should care about. You know, Nintendo can do what they like from a business point of view as long as it doesn't negatively influence the video games that make it out of the door. But we've seen a lot of occasions in the past when Nintendo have made the headlines off of the back of making some pretty shoddy decisions that reflect badly on their public image. It's started to follow a fairly predictable pattern of late. Oh, this plug-and-play mini SNES console? Whoops! Yeah, but why? By understocking the SNES Classic, Nintendo aren't deploying some kind of revolutionary marketing tactic that no one's tried before. Businesses from all walks of life have used it in the past, and Nintendo themselves aren't exactly new to this kind of tactic if you've got fresh memories of the NES Classic. The intention is to create demand that far outweighs supply to give the illusion of rampant popularity. Being able to say that you've sold out your stock within 10 minutes sounds really impressive on a financial report until you delve a little deeper and find out just how many copies that is. In the UK, the SNES Classic was gone inside 20 minutes, but in the US, it was a whole different problem. Pre-orders strangely went live at 3 in the morning and were out of stock within a few minutes. Websites like GameStop and Target buckled under the weight of thousands of people trying to access the same page, leaving the chosen few who got through with a very valuable commodity. With so few copies of the SNES Classic being available, a console that would have set you back roughly £70 in a pre-order has multiple listings on eBay for more than double that. There's not a lot Nintendo can do to directly affect scalpers besides, well, stocking their console properly. And it's strange that we're in this situation because earlier this year, Reggie Fils-Aimé apologized for the issues surrounding pre-ordering the NES Classic, while also mentioning that Nintendo only have so many resources to put towards productions of these classic consoles. But neither of these are as demanding as something like the Switch. The hardware involved in emulating a selection of classic video games is not that complicated. Would it have been asking too much for Nintendo to expand their production of the SNES Classic, especially after they should have learned so much from the popularity of the NES Classic? I don't know, but regardless, it doesn't reflect well on Nintendo's PR. These days, we tend to be more pessimistic when looking at the actions of big corporations, but there's an air of predictability about Nintendo making a bad business decision. We've seen it before, and no doubt we'll see it again. While I'm here and now I've spent some time criticizing Nintendo, I should talk a bit about the SNES Classic. Nintendo were kind enough to send me one, so, thanks Nintendo. And I'd like them to send me more stuff that they're not going to stock properly, so let me spend some time talking about what's so great about the SNES Classic and why you should buy one, if it's physically possible for you to do so. The fact that the tech is so simple works to its advantage, since it's effectively a plug-and-play console, but full of some of the best games of all time instead of some shitty shovelware. The power of emulation allows the SNES Classic to hold 19 of the best games ever released on the system, and the previously unreleased Star Fox 2. Unfortunately, no Chrono Trigger, but, close enough. What I like about this selection of games is that you've got an interesting vertical slice of the SNES's library. Some of these games are more forgiving than others. Some, like Super Metroid and Super Mario World, have aged like fine wine. Some, like Star Fox, are incredibly laggy but impressive for the time. And most of them are way harder than I remember. I think I'm just out of practice. The point is that there's plenty of variety here and you'll almost certainly find something that takes your fancy. It could be the elusive Star Fox 2, which holds hope for other previously cancelled games, as its existence as part of this collection is its first official appearance on any Nintendo product. I didn't spend that long playing it, honestly. I kinda wanted to play Castlevania for the first time in a while. It's kinda weird because Star Fox 1 is kinda linear and the sequel is a bit more open-ended since you've got this map to fly around and you're supposed to be protecting Corneria from Andros' attacks, which you do in any order that doesn't get you killed. It runs about as well as the first game did, which is to say, not very well, but there's a decent amount of fun here. Almost like an RTS but with spaceships. That old chestnut. The SNES Classic itself is tiny. I never got an NES Classic, so I haven't got anything to compare it to, but I know that putting it alongside my Xbox One is like putting Danny DeVito next to fucking Godzilla or something. Not having any cartridges to worry about helps when you're flicking through games at a fast pace, like I was doing with this review. And having what effectively amounts to save states means that I might stand a chance of beating Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Being able to put a CRT filter on everything is wildly unnecessary, but makes me feel a bit better about the world's problems. There's a lot of little extra touches that give the sense that people who cared put this thing together. It was a little scary when it started playing demos and replaying bits of my gameplay as I left the console idle though. Took a little while to work that one out. Like I said, I never bought an NES Classic, and I think most of these features have been carried over from that, but it makes the whole package a more enjoyable experience with this kind of structure. But this structure does come at a cost. The SNES Classic might be small, but it isn't portable. I guess you could bring along an HDMI cable, some kind of USB power source, and try to find a screen of sorts, but Nintendo already have a portable console. While the SNES and I guess the NES Classic are wonderful machines that give a beautiful insight into some incredibly fun and important video games, I can't help but feel like most, if not every problem surrounding them would have been solved by releasing a virtual console on the Switch. Mind you, the virtual console was never perfect, with there being a load of difficulties with games coming out too slowly and for an unreasonable price. But the Switch is a masterful piece of kit for portable gaming. You really can't underestimate being able to take a selection of classic video games wherever you go. The Switch already has a great library for such an early point in its life, but the chance to put games like Earthbound and Contra 3 on there has to be taken as soon as possible. Hell, maybe that could and should extend to N64 and GameCube titles, and no one would have to fight over limited stock of some awesome emulator thing. With the SNES Classic, you're paying a lot for aesthetics and convenience, but also potentially games you don't want. Though honestly, I'd recommend it just for being able to play SNES games with a proper controller and having it feel kind of authentic. Long term though, I feel like a virtual console would be the sensible solution. But this is Nintendo we're talking about. What are these sensible solutions, and how much can we charge for them?